Hey guys, today I'm going to be making some birdhouse ornaments for one of my entries to Carl Jacobson's and Alan Stratton's birdhouse ornament challenge this year. And I'll be making mine, the body of it will be out of ash. I'm going to make a lid for it out of cherry and a little finial on the bottom out of a piece of African blackwood. And we'll see how it turns out. So let's go ahead. Got my roughing gouge here. I'm just going to bring this down to shape a little bit. Okay, I have installed a 1-inch Forstner bit inside my drill chuck, and I made a mark with tape that's going to be 1 3/8 inches down, and I'm just going to bore out most of this to take a lot of the weight out of the ornament. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I set my calibers to 1.25 inches, and I'm going to bring this down with the parting tool to make a little tenon just outside that hole, and that'll be what will fit the mortise in the roof, so I could connect it all together when I'm finished up. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and I'm also going to make my length 1 5/8 inches long, which is just a little over 1/8. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started bringing the shape of it out of it. I just finished up shaping it how I like it, and I've been using the skew cut for most of the way through, so I'm going to start sanding at 240 and move up through the grits to maybe 400, so I don't have much sanding to do. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. I finished up with some steel wool on my sanding job, and that really made that wood nice and smooth. So now what I'm going to do is I got a self-centering punch thing here. Just going to estimate where it looks good. There we go. And this will be the hole that the burl used to get in there, not the one for the perch. And I got my 1/4 inch drill bit. Just going to find that hole and try to go as straight as I can. And directly below that, I'm going to make another pilot hole for the bird perch. Okay, I've installed an 1/8 inch drill bit into my drill. And I'm going to go ahead and drill that one out. And that hole's the one you're going to want to be sure to get straight in there, because that's the one that a dowel is going to glue into for the bird perch, and if it's not straight it'll be crooked. So I'm going to go ahead and just sand the burrs off the edge there, and then there's one more thing I want to do before I part this off. The last thing I wanted to do was I put a 3/16 inch drill bit into my drill chuck, and I'm going to center it in there, and I'm just going to go straight through until I think it went through the bottom. And that will be to hold the tenon that I'll put on one end of the finial for the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. An 1.25 inch Forstner bit in my drill chuck now, and that will fit nice and snug in that tenon I made on the body here. So I only have to drill down enough to fit that. So I'm going to turn my lathe speed down, and let's go ahead and do that. And with a few passes with the spindle gouge, I've got a nice roof shape that I like, and I also cut this in just a little bit so that it will overhang, and I like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a skew or my spindle gouge, and I'm just going to take some light cuts down and slowly round over that until it parts off. Let's go ahead and do that. I have the finial going now. This is my piece of African blackwood. I'm just going to put that in the center of my chuck. Okay, it's good. I'm going to bring my tool rest up. I had a few questions about still using this lathe, my old Craftsman lathe, over my new Delta Rockwell lathe. And the reason why I use this lathe a lot still is because stuff like my pen mandrel and my drill chuck that I'm using here, it has the Morse taper size different than the one on my Delta lathe, and I don't see the point in going out to buy a new mandrel, a new drill chuck, and everything else if I don't have to. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to use a skew on this because this is really hard stuff. Alright, in the bottom of the middle part of my birdhouse, I drilled that hole, and that was going to hold the tenon of the finial. And I set my calibers to 11/64, which was what that drill bit was. And on this side, I'm just going to make the tenon. Doesn't have to be a long tenon, but I'm just going to make it just so it could reach through a little bit. Okay, and those are all the parts I need for the birdhouse. Now, one thing I did do that I didn't catch on film was I don't know if you can see that here. I took that some copper wire, and I just bent it around a pencil and twisted the end, and I drilled a small hole in here, and I just glued that in with some CA glue, so that'll give me something to hang it from. So now all I have to do, take my finial, which I turned up out of that African blackwood, beautiful little finial, and I just went through the same grits I did with the rest of the birdhouse. I'll just have to glue that in like that, and I'm just going to use CA glue and an accelerator for all this. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll let the finials glued in. I can put in the roof now, which will just sit like that. So I'm just going to take, I'm going to put the CA on this side. I'm just going to coat that up. I spray that with some activator. Very quickly snap it on. And once that activator hits the CA glue, you don't have very long. You have maybe all of a few minutes to try to get it together. So with that, it's all computed. I just have to put in the bird perch with, I have an 1/8 inch dowel for. Then we'll go ahead and put on some finish. And that completes the birdhouse. The perch is all in there. I glued everything together with CA glue. Again, that's black walnut, ash, just ordinary poplar dowel or a pine dowel, and that's African blackwood on the bottom. I have some Deft clear lacquer finish, and I'm just going to lightly spray this on there. I have it hanging from $1 right now, so here we go.